Welcome back to the New Jersey Morning Show. Laura, I'm really excited for our next guest. She's actually a dear friend of mine. Joining us now is the host and executive producer of Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life, Conversations with Joan on New York's AM 970 The Answer and iHeart Radio. Please welcome Joan Hermann to the show. Joan, it's so good to see you.
Good morning, Kara and Laura. If I could just for a moment, when you were doing the intro talking about being a Jersey person with the weather, last week, well, the first day that we had that was warm, I actually put my lounge chair on my patio next to my pool, and I sat outside with all the snow around me.
And you got to be able to swing and adjust to. You got to grab that sunshine when you can.
I have done it before as well. I've actually gotten sunburnt in February from seeking out those handful of warm days. I was back in college.
See, there's a time and place for everything. It's college.
Yes, that is the time and place for everything. Hey, Joan, so your show, I just love your show, and I love your mission and everything that you do. You show so many people ways to improve themselves, their lives, their businesses. What's the number one thing that you have learned throughout this whole pandemic?
It really is the power of a positive attitude. I'm actually now coming off of a bout with shingles, and because of that, I had to spend about 6 weeks really isolated. And during that time and during the previous year, I learned that it really is the way we view the situation. So, for example, yesterday I was speaking with Megan Murphy, who is the editor-in-chief of Women's Day magazine, and she was sharing what she's been doing during the pandemic, and she's doing something called Taco Tuesdays with her family. And it started out as just something that was really simple. And she said, now it's turned into this big fiesta. They have t-shirts and it's a big deal. So that's a wonderful example about the power of the way we view something. So we could look back at the year or, anything in our life and say, this was the worst thing I've ever gone through and everything is horrible and woe is me. Or you can try to find those little silver linings and change your approach to the way you view things. So I think that is probably the biggest lesson I've learned over the past 11 years, obviously with the brand Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life, but I believe it and I live it because it is true.
Yeah, taking that perspective of looking at something a different way, it takes practice to actually try to look at the bright side or look at something from a different perspective. So when you're talking to small business owners, so many have had to shift to do things that has nothing to do really with, what they intended to do when they went into business. What are you hearing from those small business owners? What are they saying?
Well, at first I heard a lot of resistance. People were taking the negative approach as you were saying it. And just so you know, that is human nature. We are programmed to see things negatively. And that goes back to our ancestors because it was the way we survived. We needed to see the negative or the danger in something for survival. The problem is we carry that into our life every day. And what happens is these small business owners early on, and it happened in my own business when the pandemic hit, everybody tightened their belts and money stopped flowing and people were losing customers and revenue was down. People were unemployed. And so, it's easy to fall into the trap of seeing the negative. But I think what's happened is that people have figured out ways to, and I hate using the word pivot. I know people always say that they don't like that word, but you needed to pivot your business into a different direction. And I think what's happened now, and really the magic of it is people like, for example, maybe a hypnotherapist or somebody who was a local practitioner now has the opportunity to bring a business viral, which opens up a tremendous growth potential because now you're not just talking to someone in Little Falls, New Jersey, you're talking to someone across the country and even the world. So the businesses that weren't afraid to transform their services and deliver it in a different way, I think they're actually doing quite well today.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Laura.
Well, I was going to touch on something that you said. And someone once told me when I was frustrated about something is, Laura, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And it took a while for that to sink in, meaning something isn't going to feel right. And you have to get used to that feeling, because it's going to, help you understand and adapt and look at things, which ultimately makes you have that a better perspective. And all right, I can't change something. All right, I'm going to have to let this go. And it's hard, because when you are figuring what should I focus on, we're hardwired, like you said, to focus on the negative. So, how do you help people in dealing with those feelings of, I don't want to give up on this aspect because it's going to look like I'm quitting, when it really isn't. It's just shifting and saying, this battle isn't worth fighting. This one is worth fighting.
Well, it's when I do consulting with businesses and even people going through any type of transition, the first thing I tell someone is we have to, and I use the CHANGE acronym to do this, and following the letter C, it's gaining clarity of whatever your situation is. So the first thing you need to do is really sit down and analyze, where am I today? What are the realities that I'm facing? And it might be geography. It might be not even knowing the technology to bring a business in a different direction. But the first thing you need to do is really take a hard look at yourself and your business, your limitations, your strengths, your weaknesses, and figure out where you can go with all of this, and then develop a plan. But I think that, the biggest thing is to get over that obstacle of resistance. People who are resistant stay stuck, and then they become victims. They become victims of their own life and their circumstances.
And Joan, do you think, would that advice also apply? We're talking about business owners and small business owners, but just people as individuals are just, sludging through this thing. How do we go from surviving to thriving as independent people?
Well, I think the first thing, as I said, figure out where you are and take a really good, get real with yourself. Don't be afraid to go in and figure out what you need to do. Have a plan, but once you develop that plan, you have to be willing to take a chance. People get so stuck in fear, and really fear is nothing more than false evidence appearing real. And if you think about it, all of the things you've been afraid of in your life, how many of them have actually come true? And it's very small percentage. So you have to really get rid of that fear as an obstacle and then take a chance. That's the biggest thing I could say. If you want to thrive, you have to take a chance and step out of your comfort zone. I mean, everything I've done for 11 years has been outside my comfort zone. So it's really what you have to do.
Joan, thank you so much. Listen, where can, for anybody who doesn't know, where can folks find you? Where do we find Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life? And what do we have to look forward to coming up in the next month from you?
So our website is cyacyl.com. That's the first letter in Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. So cyacyl.com. When you're on our website, there is so much information there that can really help you in anything that you're doing personally or professionally. So while you're there, you can read our digital magazine. You can listen to Conversations with Joan on demand. You can check out our blog. You can look at our life strategists. It really is a great hub of information for anything that you are experiencing. Moving forward, we're bringing Conversations with Joan virtually. So you'll be able to see the interviews that I do on air. We'll be doing some of those on camera. Also, we have Women for Women summits, and there's just a lot of really exciting things that are coming up. So please visit our website, cyacyl.com, sign up for our mailing list, and thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you so much, Joan, for getting up early, and hopefully you are fully recovered very soon. And it's so good to see you. I really appreciate your time this morning. Joan Hermann, Change Your Attitude.